Hello and welcome to MorningFile. I'm your host, Emma McCarty. Today I'm speaking with Nicola Dufficy, the Artistic Director for the Eden Mills Writers Festival. So to start, could you give us a little background on the Eden Mills Writers Festival and what it typically looks like in a pre-COVID-19 world?
Well, it looks very different in a pre-COVID-19 world. The festival is in its 32nd year. It's been taking place in the village of Eden Mills, which is just outside of Guelph. And basically it's a really charming event because all of the festival events are held within the village in the backyards of the people who live there. So when we say backyards, we're talking about big open rural spaces, but still the people of the village open up their homes, volunteer, and it's a really special, intimate, warm environment for the festival to take place.
Okay, yeah, so usually the event is 1 week long in September. How was it decided to instead create an event that ran all the way from May to October this year?
Well, we did a really quick pivot when the COVID lockdown started, and we started thinking really quickly, what are we going to do? And it was the main thing that we were considering is we want to be proactive rather than reactive. We don't want to have to plan something and then cancel it and then kind of resurrect something from the ashes. So we decided, what do we want this year to look like? And we felt that hosting a festival in September, even making that decision back in March, we felt that hosting a festival in September wouldn't look like the same sort of festival. We didn't know that the authors would want to travel. We didn't know if the people in the village would want to open up their homes. So we started the pivot really quickly. We decided that we were going to host from May till October because in the publishing industry right now, there are limited opportunities for authors to be able to launch their books. So all of the spring events were cancelled for authors. Publishers started pushing publication dates back further and further because the opportunities for authors to connect with readers was really limited. So we thought if we can promote books from May to October and try and host events closer to the publication dates, we can give the authors an opportunity to promote, and we can give readers an opportunity to connect with some of the new books that are being published this year.
Okay, so I guess then kind of getting into the digital aspect of it, did you guys run into any problems, or how did you go about transforming a live event into something that's digital?
Well, it was a steep learning curve. I guess the first thing we wanted to consider was that the programming itself, we wanted to keep the standard to being really high quality, and that the curation and the running of the events had a similar feel to what people would see in Eden Mills. So that was the first thing that we wanted to ensure. And then we had to work out, how do we do that in a digital way? The most challenging thing, I guess, is that when people attend a live event, they can feel the energy of the authors. They can feel, when somebody laughs, or there's like a moment of reflection. Those things are different when people are in the same room. So we had to kind of, we found the platform that we're working with, which is the Zoom webinar platform. But then in the running of the events, we needed to put a lot more thought into how we structure these events in a way that make people feel compelled to attend the event live versus watching a video that's been posted on YouTube later. So we're working really hard right now with all of the events we have coming up. So we've only announced the first 6, but then the remaining 15 are going to be announced on June 23rd. And we're working really hard with each of those events to work with the unique themes that are coming out from those events to find ways to ensure that there is a little bit of creativity and a few surprises, so that it's not just talking heads all the time.
Yeah, so the event's been running for, I guess, a little over a month now. How has it been so far?
Again, a learning curve. I hosted the first few events. Being on camera is not my natural state. I do not enjoy it. But I decided to host the first few events to sort of learn a little bit and try and work out how these digital events were run. And surprisingly enough, so we started with our children's events, and I think those will be the most difficult ones that we host because I had to do a fair bit of coaching work with the authors to try and work with them on how are we going to structure a presentation that keeps the attention of kids when, again, you don't have that energy of being in the same room. And when they're also doing so many activities online, including school online. So what are we going to do? So we worked a lot with the authors on their presentations and how we kind of keep things moving. And one of the things we also did is we created a take-home activity for each of the children's events, so that immediately after the event they were emailed an activity they could do at home with their siblings or their parents or on their own. And if they took a picture or sent us their response, they could win a copy of the book. So that was really fun. So far, it's going pretty well. But, I mean, we have a lot to learn along the way.
Mm-hmm. So you said that you have 15 more events that you haven't announced yet. Could you give us like a little bit of like a sneak peek of what that'll look like?
Oh, sure, I can do that for you. It's really exciting, actually. We've tried to plan a program that has something for every reader. We have to make really difficult decisions because we're not one of the larger festivals. So we have to look at the whole year's worth of books that are being published and trying to work out how to make difficult choices about which books we can promote. And one of the ways that we do that with the Eden Mills Writers Festival is we program thematically. So, one of my jobs is to try and introduce people to new authors and to new books. So some of the themes that we program might be interesting to an audience, even if they don't know the authors specifically on the panel. And then if they attend the event, they might get to know the author and be interested in their writing. So we have some interesting stuff coming up. We have a thriller panel coming in July that hasn't been announced yet. We've got some great memoirs being featured. We have a very interesting panel discussion talking about death and how if we can talk about and understand death, we can live more meaningful lives. That panel's really interesting because it features somebody who comes from a cultural criticism background, someone who's written a memoir, and a short story writer. So they're all writing about it from different perspectives. And we have a fantastic poetry event coming up in August, as well as some amazing things in the fall. So everybody will be able to see that on June 23rd when it goes live.
Okay, great. So then my last question for you is, how do people access the event?
Sure. So on our website, we have links to registration. We are hosting the events via Zoom webinar. So you just have to pre-register using the link. And then once you're registered, you're good to go. You have a link to access the event. And attendees receive a reminder a day before and an hour before the event. So all they have to do is click on that and the event opens and then they're good to go.
And the events are held over Zoom, you said?
That's right, yeah.
That was Nicola Dufficy from the Eden Mills Writers Festival. The event runs from May to October, and you can access the event from the link below. Make sure to check out cfmu.ca/videos for more video content and MorningFile interviews.